Hi, this is Rick for EDU Mobile. Now we're going to look at one control that we're going to capture two events and bind event handlers to both events for a single control. So let's first look at activity my. By the way, I don't like that. I'm using the default template settings for this and the last application. I prefer main activity for the Java and activity main, but we'll go with this for now. The button is ID'd button, of course, so that we can find the button. And then we're using a string button text for the button. But notice that we don't have an OnClick handler mentioned in the XML file, and that's fine because we're going to do it by assigning the OnClick listener and the OnLongClick listener, so we're capturing two different events for the button. The OnClick listener I've called mButton OnClick listener. The OnLongClick listener I have identified as mButton OnLongClick listener. Notice that I don't type TextView here because I've set up a private property of my activity called TV, which is a text view. The reason I've done this is that I am accessing this view in more than one place. I'm going to access it both in the definitions of my click listener and my long click listener and in onCreate. So it just makes sense to make a property, a private property in this case, of this text view. So now when these are brought down, I wanted to show you this. When we bring these down into CollapseView, notice that the expression looks like a Java 8 lambda. It really isn't. What it's doing is collapsing this view so that you can into an abbreviated form. I'm not really sure why it looks like a lambda expression, but we're using and not Java 8 right now in Android development. So just go ahead and write these as normal. We can actually in Java 8 write them as lambda expressions. I should mention that. So this is our OnClick listener, mButton OnClick listener. Is equal to a new view.onClickListener, which is here. We could use the annotation override because really we are overriding onClick on the view. So we pass into view. The boilerplate code, the template code, gives us this view named v. Again, I really prefer view, but again we're going with the default so that what you accept in the template code is going to match what you're seeing here. So onClick view v, and of course view v or v here is what just got clicked, the button, or actually whatever we bind here in onCreate. So in this case, yes, it is the button. So we're just going to, on a click, set that text view's text to click. And on a long click, we're going to, set the text view's text to long click. Now, one of the things that you need to be aware of is in OnLongClick view, we need to return a Boolean expression. And the Boolean we want to return refers to whether or not we're going to allow the event to bubble up the event handler chain. So we return true if we want the OnLongClick to consume the event. Otherwise, we return false. We're going to try this both ways. For this first demo, we're just going to try it by returning true. In other words, if we click the button, if we give the button a long click, we will only see long click in the text view. If we give the button a short or regular duration click, we will see text on the text view. And because we're returning true, the onClick handler won't fire after the OnLongClick handler. Okay, so now in onCreate, we have assigned our text view here, and then we've assigned our button, and we found it by using the ID of the button, of course, and then we set the onClick and OnLongClick listener on the button. So set OnClick listener with that, and set OnLongClick listener with the LongClick listener. So let's go ahead and run and see what happens in this case. So here's our little multiple listeners app. And if we click on the button, we'll get click, which we should. And then if we click and hold down on the button, we'll get long click. And then if we release the button, we still have long click. So let's set the return value of the long click handler to false to get that event to propagate back up to the OnClick listener and see what happens. So here we want to just say return false. And this is how we control whether or not the event will propagate through a long click and then pop up into or bubble up into the next available handler. So a long click is a click. So let's go ahead and launch and we'll see what happens. Okay, so if we give it a click, we'll just see click. But if we give it a long click, after the click has been down long enough to fire a long click handler, it's about a second, we'll get long click. But when we release, we'll get click, because a long click involves a click. If we return true, that event doesn't fire up through to the click handler. But if we do return false, then the event will propagate onto all handlers that can possibly handle that event. Thank you very much.